offer your amendment on the floor. I know that you can offer your amendment on the floor to defund Obamacare, and I think that that would be the fairest way to do it. Again, I join with my colleagues. I'm sure every single one of us is going to say basically the same thing to you. We agree with you that this program should be defunded. It is, in my opinion, an abomination to this country that this bill was passed. And I find it really curious that my colleagues on the other side have talked about how this process is going so fast. They want to slow down everything that cuts funding, but they're always in a hurry when it comes to spending. The stimulus bill was pushed through. Obamacare was pushed through. Anytime they want to spend money, they're in a big hurry to do it. When we want to slow down the spending of money or cut funding, all of a sudden we're in too big of a hurry to do it, and we should be slowing down. But I appreciate your efforts. I've appreciated your efforts for the last year and a half. As I said, you've been joined many, many times by all of us here, except the new people who are here, saying basically the same thing. And I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Ms. Fox.
I just want to say this has been one of the most fascinating discussions that I've witnessed in the Rules Committee for a long time. I think you're being told in a very polite way, no. But as you know, the Rules Committee can do whatever it wants to do. It can grant the waivers, and if they want to make it in order, they can. But I just want to point out for the record, even though I strongly disagree with what you're trying to do, there were 8 of them and only 4 of us, so I can't help you, even if I wanted to. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. McGovern, and I appreciate joining together for the State of the Union address. That was good for our.
That was a great time. We were seatmates. Yeah.
Jim was my date that night. I'd be looking forward to having that dialogue as soon as it could be constructively enabled. Thank you.
I just want to tell you how happy I was you were here, Mr. King. As you know, I think you're a real champion on issues like this. I appreciate what you've done on the fair tax time and time again, and I put this in this category of things that somebody's got to stand up and say it, and there's no doubt that you have your colleagues' attention, this committee's attention, the media's attention, and with those kinds of talents combined with the bright minds that Mr. Bishop's just talking about, I just have no doubt that success is around the corner, success that we're all seeking. So I thank you for having the courage to push this all the way to the end.
Thank you, Mr. Whittle.
Mr. Polis. Mr. Nugent.
Mr. King, great seeing you tonight. You have really stood out amongst a lot of folks in regards to your push and your desire in regards to defunding Obamacare. I know that I don't think you have to convince, at least from Mr. Dreyer over this way, about doing just that. I think that's a mission of ours, and to get this country straight again, particularly as it relates to Obamacare. We want to get together. We need to work together, and we need to come up. And I think, we heard Mr. Bishop say about the brightest minds. I'm not the brightest mind, but I certainly am one that loves to hear a good idea. And you have a good idea, and we need to be able to work cooperatively to get to the end game. The end game is to defund Obamacare, and that's, I think, where we all want to go. So, with that said, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nugent.
Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been an interesting conversation, one that I keep hearing in my mind, please, please, please don't do this. But at the end of the day, here's what I'm thinking. We will find a way to accomplish the goal. I know I have a bill that has been hopefully will be co-sponsored by many members of the freshman class and other members of the Republican Conference, to do exactly what you're attempting to do, which is to defund Obamacare, period. The process by which we get there is important. That we get there is more important.
If I might respond, Ms. Scott, I appreciate your interest in this, and I'm aware that you've taken an initiative to put language in authorization to defund Obamacare, and I do appreciate that initiative. I certainly am supportive of that. My point on that is that in this environment with the other party in the majority in the Senate and the president of his signature bill at stake, we need to have a way to have some leverage to accomplish this. So each one of the pieces that we do contribute to the cause. You are, we are. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Webster.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your courage. It takes courage to stand alone. You're standing alone. I really appreciate you doing it. You got a great idea.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Webster. Looks like we have wrapped this down to perhaps a moment for me to conclude my statement. And I could maybe reach back to some cassette in my mind and turn this thing up to the maximum amount of marketing. But I think instead I would say this, that I have had the ear of this committee on both sides. And it has been a good and healthy discussion. I believe, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe I'm right. And I believe this is the best opportunity with the maximum amount of leverage and the best timing that we could have. I think that of those who don't believe that, they should come up with a proposal that has a better prospect of success. And I'd be happy to have that kind of dialogue, and it would be maybe more constructive before this committee would make a final decision. However, whatever it is, my level of intensity is going to go in a direction that's designed to bring about the end of Obamacare. That you can count on, Mr. Chairman, however this committee decides, and I'm hopeful that the wise minds on this committee can come up with a better solution, and I hope I can know about that or else participate in that discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. King, and I can assure you that as we proceed with the discussions on the issue of funding or defunding Obamacare, there's no doubt about the fact that you're going to be right in the middle of those discussions, because you have, over the last 18 months, as you said correctly, been such a stalwart and a champion on this. And we appreciate your being here and appreciate your dedication to the Constitution and to the institution. And we will obviously be taking your ideas and thoughts into consideration as we proceed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I thank the committee.
Thank you. The committee is